What is up, everyone? It's Tyler Shelton. This is Coffee with a Bearded Reviewer. I'm your friendly neighborhood coffee snob. And today, folks, this is going to be my newest review for Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. The last time I did a review for this series was back from its season opener of episode 1 and 2. I told you how I felt about that first 2 episodes, but now I can actually talk about the entire show as a whole. So, with that out of the way, let's get started with today's video. Body form, narrow at the end for better comfort. Uniquely shaped and padded to extra boost your confidence on heavier days. Body form, absorbency for your inner power. So, to let you all know, I had to add a little bit of bourbon in here because I need to get through this review, because all I have to say is that all I have to say about this show is I just rather call it Lord of the Rings, the Reigns of Cheeto powder. That's all I can say about this show, because really, like, I wanted to love this show. I love J.R.R. Tolkien's works. I love his books of Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, The Silmarillion, Unfinished Tales, The Tales of Beren and Luthien. He developed such a vast world that I absolutely adore, because this is one of those book series that you should not screw with, because there is a huge cult following of all of his works, and it got succeeded by his son Christopher Tolkien, and is also being succeeded by his grandson, which is Christopher Tolkien's son. So, like, you have 3 generations of authors that further developed the Godfather's works. So, like, there's a lot of things that we know and love about Lord of the Rings, especially like just all of Tolkien's works. Anything ranging from Valinor, Middle Earth, Numenor. So, like, there's a vast majority of lore, a far extended history of more than like 5,000 years of events that had transpired in all of these realms. And so, like, when you watch this show, you're actually seeing some lore being utilized. Like, you actually get to see what Numenor looks like, which I actually thought the cinematography was fantastic, because this is a $1 million an episode show. It is the most expensive show, and it actually does show in the quality, such as like in the score, the cinematography, and even like when it comes down to like the environment itself, because like there's a lot of things that I felt like that could have been a better improvement, but I think the biggest improvement in the entire show has to have everything that has to do with the dwarves and in Khazad-dûm, but we all know it as Moria. Within the story about Khazad-dûm, because in Khazad-dûm it's actually known for being the place where you actually mine for mithril. If you don't know what that is, it's basically like adamantium in the Marvel Universe. But I just really hated how they changed the lore, where it's all about like one of Morgoth's Balrogs and an elf that they apparently fought on top of this tree that actually gave birth to mithril, and I'm all like,
that's just lazy writing.
But aside from the lore, I was just bored out of my mind. Like I said before, I wanted to love this show, but I just couldn't get over the fact that this is just a real condescending TV show. It irritated me so much, to the point that like you have some characters that felt like that they were Kyles or Tyrones. So these were like not really the greatest people. There were even some Karens, and I'm not gonna go into the whole politics of what went into this TV show, because that's just another animal by itself. But what I'm gonna talk about is just kind of like how, but this is the most expensive TV show ever made, and they just screwed it so bad.
No, 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 no. Look at his lips.
The writing is horrible. The script is so cringy. Even some of the actors, I'm like, what were you thinking when you were casting these people? Because like, I do have to start off with saying is that I actually thought that the actress that played Disa, the dwarf, I actually liked her. She was kind, she was very generous, and she was very loving. She was basically all the characteristics that you want in a female dwarf. And I'm like, it worked. It totally worked. And I really, like, the only things that I liked about the show was everything that had to do with Disa and Durin and his father Durin, but that's another animal by itself. But overall, there are some positives in this show, but altogether, the negatives really outweighed the positives. So, with this whole show, it's a real snooze fest. Cinematography is beautiful. Some of the actors did a pretty good job, but I would say that more than half of the actors were not really the best choices. It really had a lot to do with the story and the script. That was like the real downer of the whole show. I think it really ruined the whole concept of the lore of Tolkien's world. And more importantly is that this is a Lord of the Rings IP, and when you hear Lord of the Rings, you're like, oh, Lord of the Rings. This is a big IP. So like what I was telling you before is that this is a show that it's a franchise that I love dear to my heart. It is some of the best literature in recent memory. So it just makes me go like, why did you have to do this? I'm just like cringing in almost every other scene. And even the reveal of who Sauron was, I'm like, that guy is Sauron. And then they make it turn out to be like this big revelation of who Sauron is. And I'm like, I already knew that. Why are you making this a big deal? I already knew from day one. So like, why did you do this? But they wanted to do like this bait and switch, and they're making this stranger that has come from the space and enters as a comet, and you're just seeing this old withered old man with a big beard, very tall, and he's just performing quite a bit of magic. And all of a sudden he says certain words that is very on the nose. Yeah, Gandalf. They're not going to say it, but it's Gandalf. And he did not come in Middle Earth in this time period. But altogether, this is a very incoherent show with a very lackluster story, with irritating characters. The only good things that came out of it was a great score, incredible cinematography, great aspects of Casa Doom and the dwarves, and I think the mixed is Elrond, because I saw this one guy playing Elrond and I was like, okay. There are several moments that make me go like, oh, it is Elrond, but then there's other moments that make me go like, you're not Elrond. Because I think it just has a lot to do with that we already grew up knowing in 6 films that Hugo Weaving is Elrond, as it goes to the same thing with Cate Blanchett as Galadriel. So altogether, this whole show, it really disappointed me. So all I have to say is that this is a real lackluster, beautiful show. It's a beautiful disaster. That's the best way I can describe this. So with my ranking for this show, I would actually have to give it a 3.5 out of 10. Okay, so that was my review for Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. And I just want to say thank you so much for watching. If you have not yet done so, please subscribe to my channel, as it really helps me out. And also press that bell button so you'll be notified for future videos. Also press the like button. Don't press the dislike button, that's a bad one. Anyways, keep on drinking coffee. And I will see you guys next time.